What a breath of fresh air it is to see so many openly defiant patriots standing before me today. Give yourselves a round of applause. I want you all to take a deep breath, close your eyes. Don't be embarrassed now, I need you to close your eyes. Relax. Let's take a trip back in time. We're going back 250 years. It was a simpler time. A young nation was in its infancy, but the challenges they faced are no different than they are today. The date is January 14, 1766. A young man my age, about 30 years old, met with a group of so-called radicals at a Boston distillery. The group was called the Sons of Liberty. John Adams and the Sons of Liberty were discussing their opposition to the Stamp Act. The Stamp Act was a tax on every website visited and every email and text message sent. Okay, not really, but it was the equivalent of that. They paid tax on every mortgage, deed, contract, court paper, shipping paper, newspaper, and flyers. Every document was required to have a stamp on it. Now open your eyes. We've all heard the phrase, the tree of liberty must be refreshed from time to time with the blood of tyrants and patriots. The Liberty Tree was actually a tree in Boston, and people would rally around it and hang lanterns and symbolic nooses from it to express their dissent of things like the Stamp Act. Proud Americans gathered at the tree and threatened violent reaction against anyone attempting to enforce the Stamp Act. All sorts of open acts of rebellion were done at the Liberty Tree. Young Americans even prevented the sheriff from stopping the open expressions of defiance at the tree. At one point, they hung lanterns from every branch of the 120-year-old elm tree. The Stamp Act was eventually repealed due to Liberty Tree activists. They even captured a British government ship, hoisted it up on land near the tree, and proceeded to burn it to ashes in the public square. Less than 10 years later, America would find itself in open rebellion against the British government. As you all know, in 1776, we'd finally win our independence from British rule. So you might be thinking, that's nice history. What's that got to do with us today? Well, the British government used to call the American rebels terrorists and right-wing extremists. Does that sound familiar? We hear a lot about what politicians call national security. What people think that term means and what it actually means are completely unrelated. Most people would probably tell you that national security means protecting the American people from foreign invasion. While I wish that were true, national security has little, if anything, to do with protecting Americans from foreign invaders. If we want to understand what this term means, we should examine the programs that have been created in the name of national security. The Department of Homeland Security is the spawn of post-9/11 national security policy. DHS has given us concentration camps on American soil, the connection of federal and local law enforcement via fusion centers, and under Obama, the DHS is now allowed to share intelligence about American citizens with the FBI, CIA, NSA, etc., all without a warrant and all without probable cause. The targeting policy of one of these fusion centers was leaked recently. It recommended surveilling and disrupting groups associated with terms such as patriot, nationalist, Tea Party, guns, militia, and other patriot groups. What does this tell us about what national security really means? Believe it or not, it's meant to be taken literally, the preservation of the state. And by state, they mean the government and its institutions. As far as the government is concerned, the biggest threat to national security are patriotic groups. The nation, or government, wants more taxes, more surveillance, and more power. You all standing before me today are the biggest threat to their agenda, so you're all a national security threat. They consider us terrorists. This is what the founders warned us about, and it's why they were incredibly wise to enshrine to the people's to enshrine the people's right to self-defense against tyranny in the Bill of Rights. To preserve our republic, we have a constitutional duty to have force parity with all government bodies. I didn't get shot at, blown up, and watch my brothers in arms die, so I could come home to a seditious legislature hell-bent on disarming us. Shall not be infringed is unambiguous. What I'm trying to say to you brave Americans is that your right to fight tyranny is natural. No law written by man can deny it. Our founders knew it. We know it. It seems like the gun grabbers are winning and unstoppable. But guess what? Did the marijuana raids stop it from being legalized? Was the gay rights movement won by following the law? Did Rosa Parks win equal rights for Black Americans by obeying the law? I believe we are at a crossroads. Much like every other civil rights movement, there are radicals attempting to deny us our God-given rights. They have the power. They have the money. They have the influence. It all seems hopeless, but it's not. You know why it's not hopeless? Look around you. Point right now and show me where you see hopeless. This is the beginning of a new movement. Do not fear being on a list. Do not fear expressing your support for your rights openly. Let go of all your fear, because fear is how they control you. Don't you think they'd have come for our guns by now if they knew they could? What's holding them back? They're afraid of us, as they should be. They know that every door they knock on to grab your guns is another dead officer or agent. They might kill you, but they know you're taking at least one of them with you, and that's all it takes. They need to feel fear too. They should question themselves. Am I doing the right thing? Is enforcing this gun confiscation worth my life? The answer is, and always will be, no. Gun confiscation is not the right thing, and enforcing it will come with a high cost of life for law enforcement. These lawmakers who sleep safely in their homes with security every night never have to worry about the real danger in the world. They put the lives of law enforcement in danger with every new gun law they pass. The ones passing the laws are the biggest subversives. That's why we have to get pro-gun lawmakers in office in the state. My name is Ali Sarsak. I'm a candidate running for election to California's 10th Senate District. I support the definition of the Second Amendment as our founders intended. A vote for me is a vote for a literal and strict constitutionalist who will fight vigorously to not only resist new gun legislation, but also to repeal all existing gun laws. Thank you for your time, and I hope you consider voting for me this Tuesday.